Hi, this is Ralph Zuranski, and I'm on the phone with Scott Alliy. He is an internet pioneer and a technology veteran. Over his career, he has owned and developed over 400 internet websites. As far back as 1990, Scott was pushing the technology envelope. In October 1990, Scott was a guest speaker at the Houston Realtors Conference. During that live presentation, Scott showed his condo in New Hampshire to the event attendees using a digital camera and a 386 model computer, which was pretty amazing at that time. Scott is the president of the Online Business Ethics Association, as well as Allied Internet Solutions Incorporated, a Houston-based internet consulting firm. He is helping to make the internet more productive, time-saving, user-friendly for all users via the creation of niche marketing directories, including findaseminar.com, a national training seminar search engine, adpr.com, a news and press release portal and distribution service for press releases, and jvdeals.com, a joint venture search engine website. He has created just an incredible number of websites and is one of the most brilliant people in technology and marketing things on the internet. He's also a person that's altruistic and tried to help young people in a program that put advertising on T-shirts and words and help businesses go in and help kids understand what's going on with business. How are you doing tonight, Scott?
Very well. Thank you for taking my call, Ralph.
Perhaps you can explain a little bit about what you do. And looking at your press release, it was sort of overwhelming. Maybe you could just give me a little overview of what it is that you do.
Yes, my current purpose, Ralph, is to bring the Internet, bring clarity to the Internet, if you will, to make the Internet a usable space where users can get in, do what they need to do, get what they want to get, and basically get out.
How do you actually accomplish that? I know that you're talking about sending out press releases as a means of getting people to come visit people's websites because everybody's interested in getting more traffic. How does that actually work?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. As we all know and probably have heard many times, successful Internet businesses have several common ingredients, not the least of which is being able to get a dedicated, focused group of people to one area of the Internet. The second ingredient is important, and that's where the niche market directory concept that we have perfected actually at Allied Internet Solutions, whether it's through findaseminar.com, adpr.com, or even HoustonGolfDirectory.com, for example. One site, one purpose, free of ads, free of pop-ups, easy to use and navigate. The 4 points that make Find a Seminar such a success, for example, are ease of use, convenience, selection, and dependability. And I think basically we, by leveraging other sites like AdPR to bring people there, and then to use the power of Find a Seminar in conjunction with one of the other sites we didn't mention, which is VenueChooser.com, a hotel, motel, meeting space directory, we're able to provide all these services to a select group. We're able to identify them through a specific press release targeting approach, and that's really what makes it all work for us.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. Well, I know that you did some work with young people a couple of years ago and had a real desire to take disadvantaged youth and help set them up with mentors and businesses to help give them a guiding path to a better future.
Yes, Ralph, I like to, I coined the term, I like to think, perhaps it's been used before, I certainly haven't heard it, of a person being a societist. And I call myself a societist in the sense that I like to engage in activities and help others engage in activities that I believe, through my Christian, religious, oriented thoughts, that is literally the best for everybody, whether it's an environmentalist. In this case, I'm a societist, and I know it's hard to say, but it certainly means doing things in such a way as that the end result of your activities will benefit yourself and those around you.
Well, that brings us into the first question in the In Search of Heroes interview is, what is your definition of heroism?
Heroism is a noticeable act perpetrated by an individual or someone or something, and it could be a dog, for example, that whose end result has a distinct physical or emotional effect on themselves or those around them.
Could you put that in simpler terms?
Basically, doing something for yourself or somebody else that is sure to be noticed by someone as a unselfish act done in good spirit without expectation for reward.
So it's basically somebody that helps others without expectation of return.
Absolutely, but again, I was thinking about that. For instance, if I give blood, I'm a generous and compassionate person. If a hemophiliac gives blood, he's a hero.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's that risk element in there that makes you stand out just a little more. It's that busy father, for example, who decides to coach in a little league that might, to some people, be a hero himself. Mm-hmm. It's going above and beyond that bit that distinguishes a compassionate act from heroism.
What is your perspective on goodness, ethics, and moral behavior?
Well, I mentioned my Christian beliefs tell me that goodness and ethics will ultimately prevail. And I believe that if you follow the path of righteousness, and here's the key, it's so much easier to do that when you're engaging in activities that are akin to your personality or your physicality, and when you're surrounded by others who basically mimic or mirror or share or complement your own skill set and traits.
So your idea of goodness, ethics, and morals is based on basically doing to others as you'd have them do unto you, the golden rule?
Yes, and also I think, again, finding your passion, finding your purpose, and doing those things, I think make it easy to be ethically and morally sound person versus engaging in activities where some of your activities may have to be somewhat questionable in order for you to feel to compete.
When was the lowest point in your life, and how do you change your life path to win a victory over all obstacles?
Well, the lowest point in my life was no doubt when I was 19 years old, and I had left home at a very early age. I had a promising educational career and basically let that slip away, had a questionable upbringing, and I found myself flat on my back and spent 6 months in the hospital and recovering from a major surgery. And at that point, answers come to you, and you have a decision to make. And I decided that life was good and that I had a purpose. And from that point on, I began to take what was a negative upbringing in childhood and turn it into a positive that I could share with others and inspire them by, as you might know, writing a book called Look at Me Now, which basically tells people how to get from where they are, whatever point, however low that might be, to where they're going.
Do you think that it takes a lot of courage to pursue new ideas?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You must be a risk taker if you're to get rewards in life.
A lot of people believe that there's a difference between failure and learning how things don't work. So you feel that if you don't do anything, you're not going to get anywhere, but you need to try things quite often to find out what really works?
Oh, and absolutely. And the key to remember there, one of the things that I did to improve my lot in life was I began to read the books, Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude, The Success System That Never Fails by Napoleon Hill and W. Clement Stone. Here's a guy who was selling insurance when he was 12 years old. Now, the interesting thing for most people to understand here is that depending on the length of the journey, you're not going to be able to see the end result. For instance, a cruise ship, he leaves his dock, and for fully 90% of the trip, he never sees the other side, but he knows that if he's going in that direction, he's eventually going to get there. So it's being able to have confidence in the vision that's set out for you, that knowing you're doing the right thing and sticking with it, I think will ultimately get you from the bad situation you might have found yourself in, and just to know that it's not that, it's never guaranteed. It's never just laid out in front of you. Much of it is unknown, and that's where faith is so very important. I encourage everybody who is a risk taker, who does set out to have faith.
Do you think that people that do have faith that their dreams will become true, should realize that they're going to experience discomfort in the pursuit of their dreams?
Oh, absolutely. As a weightlifter yourself, you understand that no pain, no gain. And but again, it's having that faith and knowledge that you are doing the right thing, and that ultimately, with ethics and morals and desire and attention and attitude, you will prevail.
How important do you think it is to believe that your dreams will eventually become reality?
Oh, I think it's absolutely important. Zig Ziglar said it best: you can't hit a target that you can't see. And so you must absolutely know where the bullseye is. And if that bullseye for you is material wealth, then so be it. If that bullseye for you is being a hero to others, then so be that. Just know that this is for you. Decide that this is for you, and then pursue it with a zest that can only come through the faith and the confidence that comes with knowing that this is the right thing for you to be doing. What place does the power of prayer have in your life? Prayer is very important to me. So many times, a good situation was when I started Find a Seminar. I actually walked away from the corporate world, and I didn't tell you this, Ralph, but it's a very interesting prayer and faith story. I walked away from the corporate world, and I came home and I told my wife, I've got good news and bad news. I've quit my job in the corporate world, and yes, I know we have a lovely home and 3 cars and a son in college that we're paying for, but I know this is the right thing to do. But the good news is I'm going to start findaseminar.com with no money and nothing but faith and knowledge and confidence in my expertise. Developed over years of experience and trial and error. So I wouldn't encourage everybody to do something so bold. But 3 months later, my wife lost her position. So we found ourselves completely out of work, struggling with a son in college and so on and so forth. And at that point, a peace came over me, and I just knew then that I had done everything I could, and that it was obviously way out of my hands. And so I turned to God, I prayed, and lo and behold, we came up with a new strategy, a pay-per-performance marketing plan of all things, and the skies began to clear, and as the book Think and Grow Rich says, we began to see the first signs of the abundance that was to be ours because we had the courage to persist. And then at that point, I knew I was in good hands. But to be able to look your wife in the eye and say, at the darkest moment, I just know it's going to be okay, with tears running down her eyes, that takes prayer and faith, and that's what pulled us through.
Well, that sure does. Well, who are the heroes in your life?
Interestingly, I don't read comic books, for example, and I don't necessarily, although I must admit anybody that's out there giving their life and protecting our country certainly has my vote for heroic duties. But it's the common folk who I found in my life. There was a family, and I won't mention their names, but a mother and father were so profound in my life, a family up the street from where I live, and God bless them because they gave me guidance and inspiration. And in fact, they drove me to catechism and made sure that I went to church and such. But it's a type of people that I find myself, even to this day, asking, what would they do in a given situation that makes them so very, very special to me, to know that even though they're not physically here with you, they're always mentally there. And you know that they were just such sound people that you just knew whatever decision they would make was the right one for you to make as well.
Who do you feel are the real heroes in our society today that aren't getting the publicity that they deserve?
I think that, again, people that are living their lives to honor God, that are therefore setting an example for others, even wayward people, to see and view, it gives that basic post in the road that tells you where to come back to. This is the middle of the road. This is, no matter how far you wander off, these types of people are the beacon that says, this is the right way to do it. This is the road to walk, and if you'll just come back this way, we'll accept you, and you'll be on the right path. Follow us. I think those are really society's heroes. The people that just go out there every day and just make it happen, whether they're a retail clerk or whether they're a woodworker or whether they're a corporate executive who's had opportunities to do things maybe unethical or immoral and chose not to do that. These are my heroes.
So it's basically the people that their actions are determined when the light of publicity is not on them.
That is correct, and that's an interesting point you make. Integrity and character is what you do at the cookie jar when nobody's looking.
Why are heroes so important in the lives of young people?
I think, looking back now as a 48-year-old person myself, I probably would have had a different answer before. But I think it's because the small mind is not capable necessarily of the decision-making processes to recognize those signs, those hints that God gives each of us, and that a hero or a person of substance or a person of ethics and morals, again, is there as a beacon to remind them of where the truth and the light is.
How do people become heroes?
Well, I think we touched on that briefly, but the best way to become a hero is to live your life as to improve yourself or those around you each and every day, to avoid those situations in life that would present you opportunities to dishonor yourself or those around you or even God, and at the same time to be aware of opportunities for you to reach and help those recognize those in need, and to reach and help those and bring them to a level where they too can then repeat the process.
What are you doing personally to make the world a better place?
Well, I'd like to think that Find a Seminar is a tremendous tool to help people find the education they need to increase their job skills, to increase their career skills, to increase their life learning skills, to be able to take and look at 400 companies in one place and to see what's going on in cities and towns all over America in one convenient location. I think it's got to be the ultimate use of the Internet, and I'm proud to be associated with that, and I'm proud to be associated with the team that has helped me to put this together and make it such a wonderful product. We've now reached roughly 12 to 20,000, anywhere in that area, 15,000 for the sake of an argument, registrations. There's 15,000 people per year that we're helping improve their lives, and that's just a wonderful feeling.
Do you have any good solutions to the problems facing society, especially racism, child and spousal abuse, and violence among young people?
The solution is in the book. The solution's in the Bible, and I think the key is to recognize at those times in your life when you have situations that present themselves to you to lead others who you feel are involving themselves in such things. One course of action is avoidance, and another way is to step in and to lead them to the way of righteousness. And I think spreading the word, I think being willing to get involved is part of being a hero in that sense, because you leave yourself open to insult and you leave yourself open to challenge, but it's being able to get involved, I think, is probably the key. Apathy is probably the antithesis of a cure. So getting involved, again, having that vision, keeping those eyes open. Ralph, I have very poor eyesight, but I have perfect vision. And I think each of us should develop good vision, because then we can see and be aware of what's going on around us, and that's the first step in making a difference in the society, is understanding what's right and what's wrong and what's going on, and how your talents and your energies can be used to rectify as much as possible and need be.
What are the things that parents can do that will help their children realize that they too can be heroes and make a positive impact on the lives of others?
I think there's two things. First of all, Ralph, they need to live to be honorable. That's paramount, that they set that proverbial example. I think the second thing they can do, and it kind of gets back to something I said earlier, is that they can engage their children in confidence-building activities, and while at the same time still challenging their children, they can help their children avoid needless humiliation or insult. For example, the father who wants his son to live his, foregone youth, to be this baseball star that he never was, and just to recognize that this either is or isn't that child's talent, and to then find out and take the time and find out what that is for that particular boy or girl, and to involve them in those activities that are going to known to be confidence building. I think that is the key.
So you think that it's really important that the parents invest a lot of time in their kids?
Yes, and not just time in the sense of minutes and hours, but analytical time and real concentrated effort, and really doing what's best for the child and not necessarily for themselves.
How important do you feel it is to give kids a good, strong spiritual foundation?
Oh, I pointed to the family who took me to catechism class, and there was another family who I didn't tell you about that had Youth for Christ meetings, and those people's willingness, and by the way, they were teachers and such as well, so they had full-time jobs during the day, but that willingness to get involved at youth, that I'm absolutely convinced, as having left home at 15 years old, I'm absolutely convinced that it was those times and that caring and that interest that those people showed, but more importantly, again, to show me the beacon, to show me the way, to show me where the middle of the road was. I'm absolutely convinced that it was knowing where the middle of the road was that gave me the opportunity to come back to the middle of the road and be able to live favorably in society. And I had to leave the town I was in, to do that, because people tend to get in small towns a depiction of yourself. And I go back there today, and it's almost comical. And the respect and the reverence that I have is just it's very rewarding. But again, I give thanks and praise not only to God, but to the people who took the time to believe in me, and to know that the physical person that was standing in front of them was not the person that could or would be if they just get back to the middle of the road.
What was the project that you did? I think it was called Give Kids a Chance. How did that work in the community?
Yeah, that was an interesting project. I believe, Ralph, that there's no better investment that we can make than in our youth. And the reason I believe that is it has a one-for-many relationship. And what that means is that if a child is wayward, and as a community you can help mold that child in a positive direction toward that beacon in the middle of the road, that they may be a shining light for others, then they will then be able to teach that skill to other people in their family and in the generations to come. And so, having said that, you've now created a one-for-many investment where you get one life right, and it's just a multiplying effect. And that's just a wonderful thing. So what I did was, I said, well, we need a vehicle to get people involved in the schools. And so let's do this. Let's create a word shirt. Let's make it fun for the children to use so they'll want to use it. Let's put a signia on the back that says, and let's make it about a topic, by the way, that some kids might never learn about, like rural kids. We have a T-shirt called the farm shirt and a beach shirt, and each one was themed. And on the back it said, my company is helping give kids a chance. By donating these shirts at a nominal cost, you were basically creating an attachment to that particular class. And along with the teacher's help, you were recognizing individuals at risk, and you were able to get involved in by showing interest in that particular student, perhaps helping them to read, perhaps reading with them, perhaps just listening to them or being with them, perhaps being that quasi-parent that perhaps they don't have at home. And by getting involved and letting the kids come to your particular business, you were increasing their awareness of society and what it really takes to be a banker or whatever office or business that you happen to be in, whether it was air conditioning or food service. And then by that connection of the shirt, that it was hoped that the companies would then go in and literally adopt the class and follow them through their school years. And I'm just very proud to be associated with things like that, and I'm very blessed that God has chosen me to do these things. It kind of gets back to an earlier discussion. If you think of the enormousness of a project like that, literally trying to change the world by yourself, certainly nobody gets up in the morning, very few people, and say, I think I'd like to do that. But and I can't explain it. It's kind of like I couldn't explain it to my wife the day that a peace came over me. But it's a peace that comes with a clarity and a vision of knowing that this is what's meant for you. And may I tell all your readers that when you get this inspiration like that, it's act on it. it's real, and that's the Lord telling you to move in a direction. And when He does that, and with His help, anything's possible. And as you can see from the success of that project, I was able to affect the life. Now, what I didn't tell you was the day I came home and found a whole bunch of literally 30 or 40 construction papers rolled up in an envelope with a letter of thanks from the teacher. And it was all their stories where the kids had written in letters, and I still have them to this day, and it's very rewarding, and I'll treasure them always, about Frank the fish. Wally Whale ate Frank the fish, and Sandy Seagull swooped down and grabbed Frank the fish when Wally Whale blew him out his blowhole, and it was a happy ending, and the pictures and the stories, and they were all happy endings, and it was just a very, very rewarding experience, and I'm glad I took the initiative to engage in that.
Well, I really appreciate what you're doing to make the world a better place, and I'm excited about looking more at your press release service and just getting people to know the good things that others are doing through the In Search of Heroes program in their local communities.
Yes, Ralph, along those lines, I just mention that, every so often on the Internet, some secret comes along that just basically seems to elude everybody. And may I be so bold as to tell you that press releases are just a tremendous hidden gem. And if those people that are out there struggling with Internet marketing and just looking for that answer, I can't stress enough that whether it's a free or a low-paid or even a premium-level press release, that they will find immeasurable results, both in terms of search engine rankings, both in terms of exposure, not to mention the fact that the number of links that are created when your press release gets syndicated all over the Internet. It just really is a hidden marketing gem, and I encourage everybody to visit adpr.com and take advantage of it and visit your site where they can find a link to us. If I could help people on the Internet one way, certainly besides find a seminar, finding education, which is obviously a personal pet peeve of mine, the next best thing would be to, if you have a business, to please let the Internet work for you 24/7 while you're sleeping. Put some news out there, and everybody has news to share, and share it, and just watch the benefits.
Well, I really appreciate your time, and I thank you for doing this interview.
Thank you for all that you do, Ralph, and please keep up the good work.
Oh, thank you very much, Scott. You have a good night.
Yes, sir. You too.